While it's been a genre for as long as I can remember, the beat 'em up is something that no matter what, I still enjoy. Despite the fact that it is almost always the exact same type of gameplay, I still love it. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Square Pegs. I'm Jay. Glad you're here. Now, whether we're talking things like Streets of Rage or Turtles in Time, this is just a genre that I truly love, and it all started for me on the NES with River City Ransom. Today, we're looking at 10 fantastic beat 'em ups over 10 different consoles, and we're kicking things off in the arcades. Yeah, going to kick things off with arcade games, and we're starting things off with what I feel is the crown jewel of beat 'em ups in arcades, and that is, of course, 4-player X-Men. This was a game that absolutely blew my mind when I was younger. I was a massive X-Men fan when this game released. It was something that I never thought I would see because there were no real X-Men cartoons that I was aware of at the time. I wouldn't see Pride of the X-Men until, honestly, like a decade later. And this was just incredible to me. The graphics were amazing. The beat 'em up action was fantastic. There were a ton of amazing characters to choose from, and it just played perfectly well. And it was the ultimate kind of arcade machine because while it, yes, was a quarter muncher and it was designed to steal all of your monies, it was still incredibly fun to be able to play as Wolverine, as Colossus, Dazzler, Nightcrawler. These were all things that I loved to be able to do, and to just fight my way through enemy after enemy, endless wave of sentinels and evil mutants was just perfect. Still one of my favorite arcade games to this day, still something that if I see it somewhere, I'm playing it. River City Ransom, I think, was the first beat 'em up I ever played. It was something that I remember when I got it, it was one that I had no idea what it was. It didn't look really interesting to me on the box. I wasn't really prepped to be impressed by it, but it was also the same year I got a ton of different games for Christmas, so I was busy trying them all out. And when I eventually got to this one, it was between River City Ransom and Blaster Master for what was ultimately my favorite game of that Christmas. And to this day, this is such a wonderful example of what a beat 'em up is capable of doing. You don't need to have a million buttons to make it work. You just need to have a good idea and a solid mechanic, because this game had that. The fighting was fantastic. The movement was wonderful. The way that the city was laid out in a different grid, basically by going screen to screen, was logical and entertaining and enjoyable and easy to engage with. And then you toss in the RPG elements of being able to upgrade your character and find different things to heal your character. It was almost a precursor to the Yakuza series when you stop and think about it. It's not, obviously, but there are definitely some similarities there that you can draw a parallel to. This series lives on to this day, too. We are getting the River City Girls series now, and they're just wonderful. It's a great franchise. It led to incredible Kunio-kun games over a variety of different consoles, and it's just legitimately one of the best games ever made. Henshin a Go-Go, baby! That's right, we are talking GameCube, and we are talking the incredible and the sadly missed and dearly departed Beautiful Joe. I love this game. I love this franchise. I love everything about it. This is such a wonderful love letter to the movie business and just a crazy fun game that is so incredibly well designed with such a creative just system in place between the speeding up and the slowing down and the different beautiful powers that you're able to get as Joe. It's just a marvelous title. And every game in this franchise is something that I enjoy. Some more than others. I'm looking at you, Red Hot Rumble, but I really do like these games, and I do think this is a franchise that I thought was just destined for greatness, and instead, it just died. It disappeared. It's gone. We get notifications and recognition of who Joe is every once in a while, but unfortunately, this is just a franchise that Capcom doesn't seem to care about, which really sucks, because I think it would clean up today. I really do. I think it is one of those just over-the-top, zany, incredible franchises that could take so much advantage of the current hardware power sets and just make it unbelievable. All of the different powers that Joe has would look incredible on something like the PlayStation 5. Normally, I would offer up the Genesis version of this game because it's my personal favorite, but you can't go wrong with the SNES version of the Pirates of Darkwater either. And it is a traditional beat 'em up as opposed to the Genesis version, which is a little bit more action-adventure and kind of exploration-based. It's a wonderful title. You get to play as any of the different pirates from the crew, and as you go through, you're going to fight endless wave of enemies. It's definitely a belt system, so you're able to move around and move back and forth on the screen. It's not just left to right the entire time, and it's awesome, man. Like, for a cartoon that died a death and was a colossal failure, For it to get two fantastic video games and have the cult following it does to this day is incredibly impressive, because these games were just magnificent. And it depends on what you like, which one you're going to enjoy more. Like I said, the Genesis version is my preferred version, but this SNES version is no joke, because it's just, honestly, it's wonderful. It looks incredible, the sound is great, the gameplay is wonderful. Like, we were spoiled for great beat-em-ups on the SNES. There's any number of ones I could have chosen. Like, I was really considering the Death and Return of Superman, but decided to go with Pirates of Dark Water instead, just because I think it's one that deserves its flowers as well. Have you played this one? Let me know in the comments. I said in the Pirates of Dark Water that I was considering using this for the SNES. Instead, I'm using it for the Genesis. And you might be wondering to yourself, Jay, why are you using the Death and Return of Superman for Genesis in a world where Streets of Rage and Streets of Rage 2 and Streets of Rage 3 exist? And there's a reason for that. Because, honestly, it's just something that I don't think gets enough recognition. This is a game that is based on the Death of Superman comic book series, where we had replacements for Superman after he fought Doomsday. You got Superboy, the Eradicator, Cyborg Superman, and Steel. And this game kind of retells that story. It's very loosely retelling that story, but that's okay, because it's still fun. It's still a challenging game, and I actually really like the design and the look of the title. It's really, really enjoyable. The gameplay is solid. It's a very basic beat-em-up, but that doesn't make it bad. It just makes it simple, makes it easy to understand, it makes it enjoyable to play, and I don't think that's something that can really be overlooked, because I think it's a wonderful title. You do eventually get to play as all the different characters from the Death and Return of Superman, and I think that's pretty awesome. Mad World originally caught my attention because of the visuals. It is an absolutely stunning game to look at, especially considering it's on the Wii, which didn't have the best reputation for good looks as far as games go. But Mad World was something special. It was stark, it was black and white, it was really impressive to see something like that, something like I hadn't ever really seen in a video game before. But of course, it doesn't just stop at black and white, because there is so much blood and gore in this game that you have the red. And the red is really what makes this game kind of stand out. It feels like what a Sin City video game would be if there was a good Sin City video game and it was set in the future as opposed to the past. Just work with me here. Sin City is one of my favorite comics, and this felt like that kind of come to life. And when you get into game, it actually makes really good use of the motion controls. It's a really challenging title. It's super fun and incredibly violent, and just, to me, what is kind of the perfect definition of what a beat-em-up is. There's wave after wave of enemy, there's different environments you're going to, and yes, while this is 3D and is probably considered a hack and slash, I love it. I think it's an exemplary example. An exemplary example? Yeah, screw it, we're going with it. Of what a 3D beat-em-up can be. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Fall of the Foot Clan is one of my favorite Game Boy games ever made. I think it is as good as any Ninja Turtles game ever released, even as simple as it is, even as basic as it is to play it, and as unbelievably simple as it is to control. It is a ridiculously fun game. And you get to play as any of the turtles, and as you go through the levels, you're going to fight wave after wave of Mousers and foot soldiers, and there's boss fights at the end of every level. It is as close to a traditional beat-em-up as you're going to get on the original Game Boy, and it is wonderful. It is such a fun game. Now, honestly, any of the Ninja Turtles games on the Game Boy are enjoyable. This one just happens to be my favorite. Like, they knocked it out of the park on the first one. The other ones are great. This one is superlative. It's a wonderful title. It's got really catchy music. The look of the game is spectacular. It is one of the better looking Game Boy games out there as far as I'm concerned, and I love it. We got a ton of amazing Turtles-based beat-em-ups. This one just happens to be one of my favorite. I looked for Star Wars Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith for literally like 2 years. I saw Radical Reggie talk about this on one of his videos and say how great of a game it was, and it was something that I just needed to own. And no matter where I went, I could not find it. Until I went to one of my gaming expos last year and I found it there, and I was able to pick it up for an incredibly good price. And I'm so happy I did, because this is possibly my favorite beat 'em up on the Game Boy Advance. I love the look of the game. I love the gameplay inherent here. I love that they incorporated not only just classic beat 'em up examples of what the gameplay should be, but they also heavily incorporated force abilities and powers with the lightsabers that I just hadn't really seen before in a beat 'em up, and I loved it. It's such a fun game, and it's so awesome to be able to just like mow through wave after wave after wave of clankers as you're just ripping through this game. and fighting the bad guys to get to the end. You can play as Anakin or Obi-Wan. Each plays a little bit differently, but close enough that you're not going to be completely out of sorts depending on who you choose, and it's awesome. X-Men Origins Wolverine is what I think is possibly the greatest beat-em-up of the Xbox 360 generation. And yes, this could be considered a hack and slash, and in fact, it probably is considered a hack and slash, but hack and slashes, according to Wikipedia at least, I'm citing my source here, according to Wikipedia, the hack and slash is a subgenre of the beat-em-up. So I'm including it here. If you don't agree, there are 2 honorable mentions later that will make up for this in another game on the list. I love this game, though. This is one of the most hyper-violent comic book games I've ever played. It is the best version of X-Men Origins Wolverine ever made because the movie was absolute dog crap, and we got an incredible game out of it somehow. Like, they took what could have been just an easy-to-phone-in and easy-to-forget kind of IP, and instead we got a game starring Hugh Jackman that is hyper-violent, ridiculously true to the character of Wolverine, and just plays like an absolute dream. It is such a wonderful title. I was really torn between this and the Deadpool game on the PlayStation 3, but since I didn't have footage of Deadpool, I didn't go with that one. That's why we're getting Wolverine here. But I hope you enjoy this one. Have you played this game? I really do love this one. And what do you think about beat-em-ups having hack and slash as a subgenre? Do you agree with that? This is one that I discovered late because I didn't have a whole lot of exposure to the Master System when I was younger. So when people told me after I got one a couple of years ago how great Double Dragon was, I was skeptical because honestly, I wasn't a huge fan of the original Double Dragon on the NES. I didn't think it was a great game. So I didn't see, one, how this game could be any worse than that. So that's the main reason I ended up giving it a try. And what I got was legitimately, I think, the best version of Double Dragon that first game ever made. The look is solid, the gameplay is wonderful, the challenge is there, it is a dream to control. It runs so silky smooth on the Master System and just looks miles better than what the NES was able to output that I am just ridiculously impressed with everything that this game offers. It's fun, it's challenging, it's a wonderful Double Dragon experience, and I think, legit, maybe outside of the original arcade release, this is the best version ever made. Honorable mention number 1 goes to Streets of Rage 2 on the Genesis. Now, why, you might be asking, and I'm probably asking myself, honestly, why is what is arguably the single greatest beat-em-up of all time only getting an honorable mention? And honestly, it's because I've talked about it ad nauseum on the channel before. It's something that I think everyone recognizes the greatness of Streets of Rage 2. Everyone understands that this is probably the best beat-em-up on the Genesis. It has some of the best gameplay mechanics, some of the best characters, some of the best level design, easily the best soundtrack, and just an endless array of gameplay that is just awesome from top to bottom that everyone knows it. So me putting it on a list here isn't really shocking. And an argument can be made that River City Ransom on the NES or Double Dragon on the Master System isn't shocking either, but this one is just ubiquitous with the genre. It doesn't need to be called out as something special. Everyone knows it is because it is. It's incredible. It's a perfect game. The second honorable mention is on here because it's cheating. It's both a GBA game and an NES game, and it is Capcom Classics Mini Mix. And it's on here because Final Fight Mini is a game that you can play on this multi-cart collection here. It's got 3 games on it. It's got Bionic Commando, it's got Strider, and it has Final Fight Mini, which I hadn't played until I got this game. It's also probably the most affordable way to be able to play Final Fight Mini is by getting it here on Capcom Classics Mini Mix. If you haven't played Final Fight Mini, it is a really amazing rendition of Final Fight, just told in a chibi style on the NES. So fewer buttons, fewer actions you're able to perform, but god damn is the gameplay excellent. It is legitimately one of the best NES beat-em-ups ever made. And if River City Ransom wasn't a thing, it probably would have been on the list. And if Star Wars Episode 3 wasn't a thing, it definitely would have been on the list in this collection. But like I said, both of those made the cut, so this one is kind of cheating, but I still want to call it out as something that I think every Game Boy Advance collection should have. 10 beat-em-ups over 10 different ways to play them, 10 different consoles or handhelds or arcade machines, however you want to look at it. There's a bevy of options out there. Now, this is by no means an exhaustive list. This probably could have been 100 beat-em-ups for you to play, but I'm sticking with 10 just because, you You guys don't need to see me all that long. Let me know in the comments down below your favorite beat 'em ups, whether they're 2D, 3D, 2D planar, belt action, something like that. Just let me know. And yes, I'm sure there are questions on here. It's like why games like X-Men Origins Wolverine and Mad World are on here, but looking into things, a hack and slash is considered a subgenre of beat 'em up. Let me know in the comments down below your favorites. If you're new here, please click the thumbs up button. The engagement helps the channel out a ton. Click subscribe if you'd like to stick around. And until next time, remember to play more games, stay square, and take care. I'll talk to you soon.